Today's video was sponsored by Pop Culture Zone Pressing Services. If you need your comic books pressed, I personally vouch for Pop Culture Zone as being one of the best professional companies in the game, offering hands down the lowest prices out there. Services start at only $9.99, and every order placed will receive free fast track turnaround times. Even though I press comics for my personal collection, whenever I need a professional press for my key comics, I send them off to Pop Culture Zone, and every single book that I've received back, every single one, has had results that have exceeded my expectations, and I am sure that they will exceed your expectations as well. Make sure you go check the link in the description below to head over to their website, popculturezone.com, for complete details on services and how to begin your order.
What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journos, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today, I'm continuing a discussion that I've been having for the last couple of weeks, ever since I bought a collection, talking about selling comics. This video today, though, was inspired by a good friend of the channel. You know who you are, for seeing a video that I did discussing my upcoming live sale on the Whatnot app, and him presenting a perspective of what is going on. Everyone I follow, everyone on YouTube, everyone on Instagram, all everyone is doing is selling comics these days. Nobody's collecting anymore, and we're all just selling comics. So I said, this is a great video discussion here. Before we get into it, of course, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below as well. But let's get into this, folks. So, for those that no, I recently purchased a collection. Not anything crazy huge, but I got a lot of flack. Oh, you're a sellout. You're selling comics now and this and that. And not much has changed. But before I go into me being in a position where I'm selling comics, let's look at what this good friend of the channel commented on this little video clip that I posted on IG. I'm going to read his comments here. He stated, "Is everyone I follow now becoming a comic dealer on the Whatnot app? Apparently pure collectors are a dying breed." No offense, just an observation. So I am going to address that statement right there. Apparently pure collectors are a dying breed. Okay, we will address that, but I'm going to continue on here. I politely asked, how does selling a few comics somehow eliminate me personally, as well as any others hypothetically, from being a pure collector? Honest question. Just wanted to get some feedback there. The response was this quote. It was more a general comment, but it seems that more and more on this platform, all I see is people hustling comics, not actually collecting them. I'm not privy to the process, but if you're selling just a few comics, I think you could move them locally as opposed to a sale on this app. I'm going to address that as well. Again, I don't really know how it works. No disrespect, obviously. I just feel like every day it's Whatnot this, Whatnot that, claim sell this, claim sell that, and other people just selling all the time. Lastly, he stated, definitely appreciate you. Like I said, it's all love. Great topic of discussion here. He says, "I just think when all this new money came into the hobby the last few years, everyone decided they liked money more than comics and started selling more than collecting." Okay, so we're going to address a few things here. We're going to address pure collector and what that means. We're going to address what he talked about. If you're just selling a few books, sell them locally. Why are you going online and on these apps and so forth? And then lastly, we're going to discuss this new money concept and if money coming into the hobby is changing it, okay? First, let's talk about pure collector. I'm going to speak on this in more of a general sense, but also to me personally, and I think those kind of cross over. As somebody who is a musician in hip-hop, there's a disconnect within the hip-hop community. There's this thing where people say, oh, this is real hip-hop or this isn't real hip-hop. Not to get too deep into that, but I'm just using it as an example because people think that real hip-hop is something that is supposed to be like nothing but big words and a certain type of beat, certain type of sound. And if it's not that, it's not real hip-hop. And that's just not the case. You can't put something into a box. So when we use the term pure collector. Ultimately, I don't think there is a definition of a pure collector. I go back to the conversation of, collector or a flipper, collector or a speculator. Well, most of us are all of these things. We have a little bit more percentage of this, a little less percentage of that, and it differs between the individual, and we diversify ourselves among these different categories that we can fit in. The same with the idea of a pure collector. I don't think there is one thing that defines a pure collector, because I don't care how many comic books I sell in my life, I'm a pure collector. Pure collector means, to me, somebody that absolutely loves collecting, no matter how I collect. No matter how I collect, I'm a pure collector. So we're getting caught up in textbook definitions, maybe, of the word pure in collecting. But at the end of the day, I don't care if you sell comics. If you have love for the hobby and love for collecting to any degree, you are I would say, true collector, because you're true to yourself and how you want to collect. So I wouldn't use the word pure. I would use the word true more. And again, true isn't something you could put in a box. True means true to you and how you want to enjoy the hobby. For me, when it comes to selling books, let me explain to you how it goes, to all you guys how it goes. I am at a point right now where I am hoping to continue to build my inventory for sale. I'm always building my inventory of my own collection, right? This is how it goes. For this collection that I bought just a couple weeks back, and for any collection that I purchase in the future. Almost everything that I don't have in this collection that I bought, I kept. If it's something that I did have, I compared it to the book that I had, and I kept the higher grade. Anything else becomes a double, and I'm selling it. It's very rare where I will get something that I don't have that I don't want. I've gotten a few, but that shows how much of a collector I am. So now let's go to a hypothetical future situation. If I purchased a collection and it had a Hulk 181, I don't own one, I'm keeping it. If it had an Amazing Spider-Man issue 14, first appearance of Green Goblin, I'm keeping it. But if it has a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 17, which is the second appearance of Green Goblin, I already have one. So I'm going to look at which one's the higher grade. I'm going to keep the higher grade, and then I'm going to sell the other one. That's the type of collector and seller I am right now. And that, I hope, paints a picture of how I am very true as a collector still. It's very much a hoarder and a collector runs as well, right? So even if I get to a point to where I own my own comic book store, I might go out and buy collections and still cherry pick certain books out of those collections and keep in my own collection. How I would handle my books, that's a whole other question. Maybe I would just, purchase them at a discounted employee price or something after the fact. Who knows? Not there yet. But I hope that really paints a picture in terms of where it is that I'm coming from. And what this does is a couple things. And I've talked about this previously. It does a couple things. It does one, it does fund the hobby, like people say. So instead of going out and spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars on a few key books, I can set a lump sum up, grab a collection, get a few keys at a under fair market value, sell some books and make my money back, and hopefully make a profit to where I could keep moving it in and getting more inventory and circulating it around, right? And secondly, so it funds the hobby, but secondly, that profit hopefully can continue to grow the business, and I can grow my brand, and hopefully it will lead me to opening my own LCS one day. And I know that all of us wouldn't be in this hobby if we didn't have comic shops. It's so dirty. It seems so dirty when people sell comics, yet who would you buy comic books from if nobody was selling comic books, right? Okay. Now, let's move on to the next talking point here. Moving them locally. 100% disagree with that. It is, not only do I disagree with it, but it's not easier. It would not be easier for me to sell them locally at all. You have to understand, at least in my area, I have a bunch of competition with LCSs. So where am I going to go? I'm not going to go stand on a corner and try to slang them, like I used to with CDs for musicians out there. You go stand on the corner with your boombox. It shows how old I am, right? You can't do it like that. Do I want to be a vendor at a con? Well, that costs money, okay? And you're up against a whole bunch of other competition as well. I can do everything that I do in person much better by doing it online. Now, I could do it on eBay. I could do it on IG and just do IG live sales. But I'm doing my next sale on Whatnot because it streamlines it. And I'm not going to get into the details of that. But regardless if it's eBay, Whatnot, IG, a live sale, or you're just posting, those are much, much more viable options and beneficial in terms of the revenue that you can bring in 100% than trying to sell locally. Even if you're just posting on local Facebook groups and it's still a virtual thing. All of these online platforms are a much more viable source for anybody that just has a few comic books that they want to sell. Other than trying to take it to an LCS and getting pennies on the dollar for what you're trying to sell, right? Now, I'm going to piggyback that with the next talking piece, because it's kind of goes to the same thing, and it's about where we're at with technology and the evolution of the marketplace. And remember, the last thing that was said was, I just think when all this new money came into the hobby, the last few years, everyone decided they liked money more than comics and started selling more than collecting. I don't believe that new money's coming in. Outside, if you want to argue, well, during the pandemic, we got COVID relief, people were home. And I say this more than anything else. People were home and not spending money anywhere else. They weren't going to the movies, going on vacations. That could be new money. But in general, 2019, before COVID hit, 2019 was a record year for comic books. Secondary market prices were hitting record highs. The primary market, the secondary market, it was booming. I don't think it's new money. I think it's the same money. I think it's more money from the same people. And I think it's more people. It's more collectors and investors alike that have been coming into this hobby over the last, really 10 to 15 years at this point, especially since the start of the MCU and what the superhero genre in film has done for the comic book industry. It's pulled a whole nother audience in, young and old. It's brought in a lot of old heads that got out of the hobby back into the hobby. So it's not necessarily new money. It's just more money coming from the same sources and new fans. Again, you can get into the technicalities of the verbiage here and the definitions of what it means by new money, but that's how I would look at it, and that's a positive thing. Now, when it comes to everybody deciding that they like money more than comics, I disagree with that because of this. The majority of people that sell comics, whether it's a short hold flip or a long-term investment, are still in some capacity collecting comics. I know a lot of people that collect and read, and maybe they don't hold on to blue chip keys, but they'll flip blue chip keys. And they still, let's use Gem Mint as an example. And Gem Mint gets a lot of crap. He doesn't even collect single issues. He doesn't even collect comics. Yes, he does. He collects omnis more than anything. And omnis are expensive. It's still comic books, folks. It's still the same hobby in the same industry. And he reads, and he likes to read from omnis. He does read new releases from individual issues, though, as well. Maybe he's not a big key collector, so to say, but he can bring in keys and sell keys to fund how he wants to enjoy the hobby. Now, let's go back to the first talking point. Does that not make him a true collector? No, I disagree. It still makes him a true collector because he's true to how he wants to enjoy the hobby. Does it make him only love money? No. But this is an expensive hobby. So if he has a viable way to get money coming in to fund the hobby and to even make profit from it, then more power to him. If I guarantee you, if anybody was in this situation and they had the resources to make it happen, they would do it. They would do it. So, are some people selling more than collecting? Sure. But this goes back to 30 years ago. Even 20 years, even today. At any point in time, do you think an LCS owner sells more than they collect? The obvious answer is yes, because their business is selling comic books. So at what point in time do we cross the line saying that it's wrong for a collector to switch over and sell comic books? Where? Is it at the LCS level? Is it at a vendor level of somebody that just goes to cons and sells on eBay? Is it when they're a YouTuber or a content creator? Is that when it becomes unethical and they become a sellout? Right? Or is it somebody that just sells on live sales on IG and whatnot, and that's all they do? And how do we measure that against how much they collect? And are there people out there that sell comics that don't even collect at all? I'm sure there is. But does that make them love money more than, collecting? Well, I mean, it's making it sound like it's a dirty thing. Anybody that's in a career hopefully loves their career. But why are they in it? For money. Because in life, unfortunately, we need money to survive. We need money for a mortgage, for a car payment, for food, for electricity to pay our bills, for vacations, for smartphones, computers, clothing, shelter, trips, vacation, anything. Everything costs money. Except at the end of the day, what makes you happy? And sometimes, if somebody can make a career out of selling comics, no matter how much they collect, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm not going to be mad at it. So, business is the way of life. And I encourage everyone to be privy and savvy to a business mind to a certain extent. Whether it's collecting, whether it's just a career field of whatever you're in. Whether you work retail, whether you're a doctor or a lawyer, an engineer, a teacher, an educator. We all have to understand business because business is the way the world works. And being in business and making money is not a bad thing. It only becomes bad when it becomes unethical. And selling comics just to sell comics is not at face value unethical. Business only becomes unethical when, you state the obvious. You're getting over on people, you're breaking laws, you're not being honest or transparent with your business practices, etc., etc., etc. So at the end of the day, to sum this up, it doesn't matter if somebody sells a little or a lot, collects a little or a lot. And lastly, I think the thing that this individual is seeing when it comes to more and more people selling, it boils down to the age of technology that we're living in the evolution of commerce. The reason why so many people are selling online right now is because it's a huge marketplace. I mean, can you imagine when Amazon got started in 1998 or whatever, and they were selling books, and then everyone started to sell online? Can you imagine saying, why is everyone starting to sell online then? Well, because that's where the future was heading. Same thing with comics. And although I don't think the LCS will ever completely die, hopefully, and I still encourage everyone to support their LCSs, but the online sales, the claim sales, the live sales, even eBay still, or whatever the case may be, marketplaces, it is an amazing, convenient, viable option for sellers and buyers alike. For sellers and buyers alike to be able to enjoy the business that they're conducting or to enjoy the hobby that they love as collectors. So folks, I'm going to leave this video at that. To the friend of the channel, again, I hope that you kind of just took this in and you know, kept an open mind to everything that I had to say. I appreciate your thought-provoking comments that allowed us to even have this conversation today. I want to know all of your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you all for watching. Again, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Thank you all. Be well. And until next time.